know what's wild about people who survive too much too early? They don't just notice things.
That phrase is cute. Like saying a lighthouse sort of pays attention to boats. No.
Their whole nervous system learned to read the room before the room became dangerous. They catch the half-second silence after a joke, the temperature drop in someone's voice, the tiny delay before a text reply, the smile that reaches the mouth but forgets to invite the eyes. And then people call that overthinking, because apparently society's favorite hobby is taking survival skills and giving them ugly little names. But hypervigilance is not stupidity. It is perception with its coat still on. It is the brain standing by the window during a storm, counting thunder before anyone else admits the sky has changed.
And yes, it can be exhausting. Of course it can.
Nobody wants to live with an emotional smoke alarm that screams because someone put the spoon down a little too hard. But here's the part people miss. That same scanning system often becomes empathy. Not the soft greeting card version, the brutal kind. The kind where you feel someone's sadness before they confess it. The kind where you know who is pretending, who is drowning, who is performing fine with the enthusiasm of a hostage reading a weather report. This is the strange paradox. The thing that made you guarded also made you fluent in other people's pain. The thing that kept you braced also made you strangely accurate. Because after enough emotional weather, you stop asking, is something wrong? You start hearing the answer before the question leaves your mouth. And that is not magic. That is adaptation wearing human skin. That is the body saying, I learned the room because the room once mattered. Some people grow up slowly. Some people get shoved into maturity like they were pushed through a door during a fire. No ceremony, no gentle soundtrack, just boom. Figure it out. Be calm. Read the adults. Predict the explosion. Act normal at breakfast. That kind of pressure does something weird to a person. It can make them capable in a way that looks impressive from the outside and absolutely ridiculous from the inside. They become the one who can handle crisis. The one who stays weirdly functional when everyone else starts melting into soup. The one making a plan while their pulse is tap dancing in a basement somewhere. That is the double edge. Adversity can expand a person. It can build depth, courage, humor, perspective, and that dark little survival wisdom that says, well, this is awful, but I've seen worse weather. That is real, but the body keeps receipts. Allostatic load is basically the nervous system saying, cool growth story, but I was there, and I am not deleting the footage. So even when life gets safer, the threat detection system may stay awake, one eye open, one hand on the emotional umbrella. This is why someone can be both deeply resilient and deeply tired, both wise and jumpy, both independent and secretly craving one peaceful afternoon where nothing has to be decoded. Post-traumatic growth is not a motivational poster. It is a garden growing through cracked concrete. Beautiful, yes. But let's not pretend the concrete didn't crack first. Now here comes the truly annoying part. People shaped by adversity often want connection desperately. And also treat connection like it might walk in carrying a knife and a casserole. Lovely, very normal human nonsense. They want closeness. They want warmth. They want someone to see them without turning them into a project. But the moment someone gets too close, the inner security guard wakes up with a clipboard. What do they want? When will they leave? Why are they being kind? Is this affection? Or is this the free trial before emotional bankruptcy? That is not coldness. That is attachment with weather damage. The heart reaches forward. The nervous system pulls it back by the collar. So they become self-reliant, not in the cute, I enjoy my own company way. In the, I have built an entire emotional grocery store in my basement because trusting people feels like outsourcing oxygen way. And then, because humans are absurd little mammals with Wi-Fi and abandonment wounds, they make jokes about it. They say, I'm just independent. They say, I don't need anyone. They say, people are exhausting, while secretly wanting one person who does not make love feel like paperwork. That humor is not random. It is emotional gravity being dodged with a cheap umbrella. It is terror management in sweatpants. It is the mind saying, if I can make it funny, maybe it won't swallow me whole. And underneath that joke is autonomy. Hard-earned, overbuilt, a little dramatic, but real. Because when trust once came with a hidden fee, filtering people stops being arrogance. It becomes weather sense. It becomes knowing which doors feel like shelter and which ones smell like another storm.
And then there is the control thing. Oh, the control thing.
The tiny kingdom of routines, preferences, backup plans, locked doors, checked messages, chosen seats, exit routes, and no, I actually need to drive myself there. People love calling that difficult. Controlling, picky, intense, cute diagnosis, detective. But sometimes a person is not trying to control the world. They already learn the world cannot be controlled.
That was the whole problem. So they control the small things.
The mug has to be in the same place. The plan has to be clear. The tone has to be readable. The room has to have an exit. The phone has to be charged. The calendar has to make sense. Because when the big weather once came without warning, the small weather became sacred. That is micro-autonomy. A tiny lighthouse built on the edge of chaos. A way of saying, fine, I cannot command the ocean, but I can keep this one lamp burning.
And underneath that, grief.
Not always loud grief, not the movie kind with rain on windows and dramatic floor sitting. A quieter grief. The grief for the person they might have been if safety had arrived earlier. The version who could have trusted faster, rested easier, loved without checking the exits, slept without listening for footsteps in the hallway of their own mind. That loss is hard to explain, because nobody died. Nothing visible got buried. But something still had to be left behind. That is why the sadness can feel ridiculous. Like mourning a house you never got to live in. Like missing a childhood your body remembers needing, but your life never actually handed you. And when nobody recognizes that kind of loss, people start calling themselves dramatic. They are not dramatic. They are carrying an invisible funeral in their chest and still answering emails like a functional little miracle. So yes, they may seem particular. Yes, they may need clarity. Yes, they may keep one emotional hand on the door, but that is not weakness. That is a nervous system negotiating peace with a world that once failed the contract. And sometimes, after enough breaking, a person does not become smaller. They become rearranged. Not fixed, not shiny, not reborn in some obnoxious inspirational montage where everything suddenly smells like lavender and personal growth. Rearranged, like a shoreline after a storm. The shape is different now. The old map does not fully work. But the new edges know things. They know what fake warmth feels like. They know what silence is hiding. They know the difference between peace and boredom, between kindness and performance, between solitude and exile. That is the strange gift nobody asked for. Trauma can steal ease? Yes. It can steal innocence. It can steal the casual trust other people wear like a summer shirt. But it can also leave behind perception, empathy, adaptation, autonomy. A private philosophy built from surviving weather that should have flattened them. And maybe that is the point. Not that pain was good, it was not. Let's not put glitter on a knife. The point is that some forms of intelligence are not born in classrooms. They are born in kitchens where everyone pretended nothing happened, in bedrooms where a child learned to listen through walls, in adult bodies still trying to prove they are safe now. So if this hit a little too accurately, do not rush to turn it into another diagnosis. Do not grab the nearest ugly little label and staple it to your forehead like proof that something is wrong with you. Maybe just notice the recognition. Notice the part of you that got quiet. The part that said, oh, that's why I do that. Because sometimes healing does not begin with a breakthrough. Sometimes it begins with one clean sentence finally landing in the right room. And if you recognized yourself in the scanning, the joking, the control, the strange little need to be close and safe at the same time, leave a comment with one word, weather. Not because the internet needs your whole history. It does not. Your pain is not public property. But sometimes one word is enough to remind another person scrolling alone at midnight that they are not the only one carrying an invisible storm map in their chest. And if this is the kind of conversation you want more of, subscribe. Not for noise. Not for a motivational parade with glitter glued to a wound. Subscribe for the deeper pattern underneath the behavior. The quiet psychology behind the things people usually misread. The survival habits that look like personality. The old defenses that keep showing up in adult clothing, pretending they are just how you are. Because the next video is going to pull on the thread underneath all of this.
Why people who had to become strong too early often struggle to receive softness later.
Why peace can feel suspicious. Why kindness can feel like a trap before it feels like shelter. And why the body sometimes rejects the very thing the heart has been starving for. So stay with that question for a second. What part of you is not broken,
But still waiting to be convinced that it is safe?